What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to talk about my experience with weight loss over the last 3 or 4 years and other things I've done to make myself a little bit healthier each day. I'm currently 41 years old and I moved to New England about 9 years ago. That's when I started living with my partner, who you might know as Kaz. I did a video recently analyzing her gameplay for Kaiveza, and I've even posted some of her content for like underpin kills and horrific vision 8 mask runs. And her and I actually met in World of Warcraft over 10 years ago. 9 years ago was a very different time for me. I smoked about a pack of cigarettes a day, which I actually quit when I moved up here. I smoked weed every day throughout my 20s. I drank multiple energy drinks every single day and lived on Little Caesars hot and ready pizzas. Not the most uncommon lifestyle. Back then I was as big as I am now, maybe a little bit smaller. I was working retail, walking to and from work every day, taking care of basically any physical duty within the store, and just in general being quite a bit more active than my baseline would become over the next 4 or 5 years after I moved up here. Fast forward to 2020, I was working an office job, eating 3 square meals a day and then some, and definitely not getting even 2 miles of steps in per day. I jumped up to 275 pounds, which is about 50 pounds more than what you see me at now. It's pretty amazing how quickly that can happen. On top of the lifestyle changes, we also had lockdown, which, believe me, as people that played WoW a whole lot, I didn't really mind during the lockdown. We both kind of felt like we were built for that. And shortly after one of our moves, I took a tumble down a set of stairs and really messed my back up. I fully recovered from that. I'm very lucky. I could have done some serious damage, and it was just kind of like a freak accident. I was laid up for about a month. The powered recliner became my computer chair, and this all helped me get to that 275 pound marker. It is a deceptively easy thing to do, and it certainly gets easier later on in life when you become less active, and if you have a desk job, and if you can't go anywhere, and if you get really into cooking and making homemade meals and eating 3 square meals a day and stuff like that, right? That said, I would still consider the primary culprit me not making my health a priority, and even just neglecting it to a degree, burying my head in sand, not bothering to weigh myself, not bothering to do a rough estimate of calorie intake per day, putting off any real activity even after I recovered from my injury. We had a backyard where Murphy could run for 100 yards. We would go out in the backyard, he would run around, do his business, play fetch, come back in, and we were kind of done without really any high-level activity on my own part. We moved again in 2022, and this was into a neighborhood where we had to start walking Murphy again. And it was shortly after that move that I had a severe tooth injury. I was no stranger to tooth pain at this time. I'd had a lot of work over the last 3 or 4 years. Restorative dental work, it was something else I neglected throughout a long portion of my life, and I may have gotten a bad genetic dice roll on that, but again, something that was more my fault than not, though this specific injury was just something that kind of happened. This ended up kind of being a blessing in disguise. I had a several week period where I wasn't going to get anything fixed, and I was just waiting for this to happen, and I was in a lot of pain every day. And if you're my age, you might remember back in the day they used to give you some good stuff for tooth pain. Nowadays they just tell you to alternate acetaminophen and ibuprofen. That works to a degree, but tooth pain's pretty rough depending on what's going on. What ended up really helping me though was just going for walks around my neighborhood. And we currently live in a place that is just covered in sidewalks. I'm very fortunate for that. You can safely walk. It was 2 in the morning sometimes and I'm just walking around and you see other people doing late night dog walks or other men just doing their routine, right? But I would walk for 3 or 4 hours a day. I would get 20,000 steps in, right? I'm not running or jogging or anything. I'm just walking, right? And I don't have a great timeline for this, but I lost about 30 pounds in 3 or 4 months. And that got me down to like the 240 range. And then I got my tooth fixed and still walked a little bit, but it kind of tapered off. I didn't have that urgency and that incentive to do it because I wasn't in pain all the time. And it really just helped distract me from that pain, getting the blood flow in different areas of my body, keeping my mind off of it, listening to YouTube videos, watching streams, stuff like that. So I was about 240 pounds for a year or so after that. And then in February or March of 2023, I started walking again, but I'd take a walk to go smoke a joint. I'd be walking Murphy. This would add up to, 8,000 steps a day or so, which isn't the most in the world, but it's more than nothing. And I'll tell you, as soon as you start doing something, the easier it is to keep doing that thing. This kind of snowballed in, a positive direction. I was getting 12,000 steps. At the time I had a Fitbit, but currently now I just use my phone, the health app on your Apple phone. I don't need anything to be super specific. I hear Apple Watches are great. Kaz has one. She gets a lot of good extra information of it. It really does help to have an area with sidewalks where you don't feel like you're going to twist your ankle or get hit by a car or something like that. So I'm very fortunate in that way. But ultimately there would still be options if I didn't have that one at my disposal. So between February and November of that year, I ended up going from 240 something to like, I think it was 202 was my lowest weight or so. And I showed up at Thanksgiving and I got a lot of positive feedback and I felt great and I felt like I looked great and it was great. I don't think I had been that weight since I was 29. But as it tends to happen, I just didn't stick with it. And I would mostly say that was a product of me not feeling like there was enough time in the day to do all the things I wanted to do. And I don't think that's an unreasonable feeling to have, but it doesn't mean I should be neglecting my health. And now that I'm thinking about it, I really let the super cold weather deter me from going out on walks. I just didn't want to do it. So I got back up to about 250 pounds. And I'll tell you, when you've been not 250 pounds and then you get back up there, it really is noticeable how much harder it is to get upstairs, take the dog for a walk, to get out of bed, how much more uncomfortable you are just kind of existing, right? And while I did get back up to this weight, I still had my health on the radar at least, which was better than had been previously. One change I made while still at this weight was I stopped smoking weed. This was January of 2025. I just stopped cold turkey. I was saving money not doing it. It was kind of a pain in the butt. You know, you smell bad and you gotta make time to do it. I smoked every day from when I was 20 to 40. All I can say is one day that switch flipped and I felt like this wasn't doing me any favors. And I know every argument to keep smoking, and that's fine, and I'm not here to tell anybody not to, but I am saying that one day that switch flipped for me, and I'm super grateful for that. I would say it had a lot of positive effects on my life to not smoke weed anymore. One, I just felt better not doing it. I know all the reasons to keep doing it. Certainly now that it's legal in a lot of places and I can just go down the street to a store and pick it up, it certainly isn't as de-incentivized as it used to be. It really helped cut down on the amount of snacking I would do late night. It actually helped me sleep a lot better. I used to tell myself it helped me sleep. It did not. Noticeable difference sleeping. I still have trouble sleeping, but much less trouble than I used to. And all things considered, I pin that on not smoking weed anymore. And having been at a lower weight and now being back to 250, I was very aware of the tolls it had on my physical and even mental health. That's probably more of a journey you have a little bit later in life. I kind of ignore that stuff from 20 to 35. You just shrug it off. But I just didn't feel good. So I started back at it. And I went back at it pretty hard. And I'm not doing 10 2-hour sessions at the gym every week or anything like that. But what I am doing is I'm doing 2 walks a day, 3.5 miles or so. I was doing that walk once a day, and then I said, I'm going to do 2 walks a day. And the only reason it's 10 kilometers is because that's what it takes me to go down the hill to the light next to the highway and then walk back up. This takes about 50 minutes per walk. It's certainly a time sink, but it's an investment in myself. You got nothing else to do but listen or watch YouTube videos on 2x speed, and I'm certainly happy to do that. I can take a phone call with a relative and be on for an hour and not feel like I'm at home walking in circles losing my mind. If I'm inside and I'm on that phone call, I'm going to be walking in circles anyway. Something I do. But I didn't notice really any change a good 2 weeks. So 245 pounds, sometimes getting down to 241, but easily getting back up to 246, which is frustrating. But one thing I noticed when I quit smoking cigarettes, when I quit smoking weed, when I quit drinking soda, when I quit drinking energy drinks, and currently walking 10 kilometers a day, is that after that 2-week period, I have ingrained a habit. I'm expecting to do it, and it's not the same time every day. Sometimes I'll get up at 6:30 and be back before 8 a.m., before the dog even has to go out for the first time, and I'll get my second walk in before 5 p.m. Today, I didn't get my first walk until 1 p.m., and I'll probably do my second walk before raid tonight. Worst case scenario, I'll do it after. Well, worst case scenario, I'll just do one. On Sunday, I only did 1 walk, but for the most part, I'm getting 2 of these a day. And now I'm back down to 226 pounds, and I'm noticing consistent returns. I can wake up tomorrow and I can be 228, 229 or something like that. I'll tell you, it does make a difference when you're weighing yourself. My recommendation is after you wake up and go to the bathroom for the first time, if I weigh myself tonight after dinner, I'm going to be over 230. Just how it is, right? Drinking a lot of water, getting calories in, it's just how it goes. My ideal weigh-in is probably 4 p.m. or so because I tend not to eat until dinner, minus a couple cups of coffee with some protein powder. But either way, I only actually weigh in every day because my brain needs that kind of feedback, even if it's not always going to be in the downward direction. I just have to know that I'm doing it, because if I stop doing it for a day, I'm not going to do it the next day, kind of like the walking. But in addition to that, I've started counting my calories, and in the past I made a lot of different excuses for not doing that. Super crazy about it. I don't love it, but I do know that if I have a coffee and a scoop of protein powder, which replaces the sugar and milk that I would use, mixing it up cold first and then adding it to the hot coffee so it doesn't clump up, 75 calories. I'll have 2 or 3 of those before 5 p.m. and then I'll have dinner, and then at that point I'm still probably under 1,000 calories for the day. I know I have about 800, maybe 1,000 if I really want to. If you're walking 10 kilometers a day, a lot of sources will tell you need 3,000 calories. I'm able to get by at 1,800 to 2,200 calories per day. And this is without tracking getting up at 4 a.m. and getting a scoop of peanut butter or like a piece of cheese or something like that. I probably should be tracking those, but again, maybe not tracking that helps me a little bit. Kind of makes me feel like I'm getting one over on it, but also making sure that I'm well below 2,500 calories while still maintaining that 10 kilometers a day and doing my best to get 4 to 6 hours of sleep every night has really been working for me lately. I don't know. That's all I wanted to do, is just share my experience and let you guys know what has been working for me and the way I think about it and approach it, because I think it's super hard to do. It takes consistent effort. Every single day, you got to put that effort in. And while I have been talking about my actual weight and getting on the scale every day for that feedback for me, I will say that the value is in following the process. It is just math. If you're in a calorie deficit and you're drinking water every day and you are getting exercise, not everybody needs to do 10 kilometers a day, right? There was a point where I was doing a mile every day and I was seeing no return, right? And just frankly, that isn't enough. You should be getting 10K steps because that's just kind of what you're going to need baseline, at least in my experience, right? Now, everybody's going to be different. I get it. And you might be 29 and not get this far in the video because you're like, oh, I'm not going to have to worry about it. You'll have to worry about it at some point. It's been something I've been doing for 3 years now, on and off, but every time I get back on it, I'm doing it a little bit better. I'm taking a little bit more responsibility. I'm being a little bit more deliberate in the things that I'm actually doing. I'm making myself the priority. And honestly, I've never felt better. You know, I felt like I looked better at 202, but we'll get back there. You know, I'm 5'11", right? My weight's probably going to be 190 or so, give or take, depending on how much weightlifting you do. And I'm doing some minor weight training, just dumbbells, 20 to 30 minutes, like 2 or 3 times a week. Nothing crazy, right? But even just having the dumbbells and having them there and knowing that some days I'll put in a 36-minute routine, right? Like they're all over YouTube. It's super easy to look these up. I will say that in 2025, this is the year that I've realized I really do need to be stretching before I do these walks and before the weight training. That might sound silly. There was a period where I was doing 5 or 6 miles a day without stretching. You know, you kind of feel like, oh, the walking kind of stretches you out for it. There's some good stretching routines you can get done in like 5 minutes. Anything you want is on YouTube. A little bit of an ad for YouTube, right? Find your stretching routine, find your workout routine, find the stuff you're going to listen to or watch while you're doing the activities on YouTube, right? It's all there. I don't know. Just something I wanted to put out there. If I can help even one person get their act together a little bit, you know, this will have been worth it. And even if not, just talking about it feels good for me. I know I'm not going to be perfect going forward, but I am in the habit of tracking my calories. I am in the habit of doing 2 walks a day. We might even upgrade those to jogs. Who knows? 41, I don't want to hurt myself out there, but this channel is usually just me posting cool video game stuff or even guides to help people do their own video game stuff. And then recently I've been talking about more meta stuff with World of Warcraft and gaming. I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to put this out there. If you liked it, like the video. If you didn't like it, dislike the video. Let me know what you're doing on your weight loss. Let me know if any of this helped you. Let me know if you have any questions. I know I didn't lay out the whole plan in like a easy to follow step-by-step guide, but I have been seeing success. And I want you guys to know that that success is out there for anyone. Certainly I'm fortunate in a lot of ways, but ultimately nobody's fortunate to take themselves seriously and to make their health a priority. And maybe even to a degree, this will help keep me accountable as we get into the colder and colder winter months where I might find it easy to slack off. Who's to say? And I also want to give a shout out to Kaz. If it weren't for her, she's been great. She helps motivate me. We've been keeping meals in-house for the most part. Sometimes we order out, very rarely though, when it's kind of what we used to do all the time. Every meal is homemade. And that's amazing. And it's just an extra level of accountability you can have for yourself when you're not just ripping open a package and eating something, right? Or having a box of cheeses, which I will crush in one sitting. I don't know. So I hope this helped anybody. Let me know if you have any questions. Do all the YouTube stuff. That's all I got for this one, guys. We'll see you soon with some World of Warcraft midnight beta stuff. Let me know what you want to see there as well. As always, thanks for watching. Peace.